Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. City of Anamosa City Council Agenda Regular Session, Monday, August 22nd, 2022, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library and Learning Center. 1.0 roll call.
Crump,
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Tukin.
Here.
Zumba,
Here.
Stout,
Here.
Gumbert.
Here.
Note all members are present in chambers. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was just reviewed earlier that there is a typo on tonight's agenda. So prior to approval, I want to make that announcement. It is regarding 7.7. The pay application is to Boomerang and not to Snyder and Associates. With that typo, 3.0 approval of agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Allen. Council discussion. Penny, please conduct a roll vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimously. 4.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings. 4.1, August 8th, 2022, regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Who made the
Second.
motion?
Move to approve.
Thanks.
Second.
Second by Kay. Any further council discussion? Motion by Jeff, second by Kay. Any further discussion on the minutes as they were submitted? Penny?
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Gumbert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimously. 5.0 proclamations, none. 6.0 public hearings. Adoption of the proposed code of ordinance of the city of Anamosa. Item 1, I will open the public hearing. Sean, it's usually a regular question regarding open hearings. Have you received notice or been contacted from anyone in the public?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Allen. Further council discussion? Penny?
we will start with Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. 7.0 old business. 7.1, the review and approval amendment of professional service agreement for the fire station addition project, Shive Hattery. There's a notation there. It was completed on 5/23/22.
This was the table last
Yes.
meeting, so I just want to make sure it's on the agenda because we tabled it. I found out earlier. So they want you to put it on. We tabled it.
Council, being it is on the agenda, have any questions or discussions regarding the tabling of what was already completed or approved? Not hearing, I'm going to move on. 7.2, review and approval. Pay application number 9 to Boomerang Corporation in the amount of $6,650 for the Anamosa Fire Station.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gumbert,
yes,
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 7.3, review and approval, pay application to HR Green for amendment number 2 for New Jordan Well number 6.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Further council discussion? Public comment? Any?
Gumbert,
yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 7.4, review and approval, pay application number 6 to Boomerang Corporation in the amount of $147,549.83 for Jordan Well number 6 bid package 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Gumbert,
yes,
Motion to approve, carried unanimous. 7.5, review and approval, pay application to HR Green for amendment number 1 for South Booth Street Water Main and Storm Sewer Replacement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Jeff. Further council discussion? Public comment? Any?
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gumbert,
yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried unanimous. Review and approval, pay application to HR Green for water treatment plant hypochlorite design.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gumbert,
yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 7.7, review and approval, pay application number 1 to Boomerang in the amount of $14,647 for Old Dubuque Road Extension.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Alan. Council discussion. Public comment. Penny?
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gumbert,
yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 7.8, review and possible action, fire station addition sewer ejector.
In your packets, I have information for both options for the sewer. I did get, and granted, it's from the engineer, the pros and cons of doing either or for the option. At this point, the fire department is at a halt and cannot go further until you guys make the actual decision of whatever that is. So they know which way to go at that point, and then we can continue with the project. I did have the addition that I handed out here as well. I think the numbers changed for what the Boomerang part was on that for a total. I don't know how much off the top of my head, but yeah, if we have a shot. I think somebody's here. Possibly, maybe, no, okay. I say possibly somebody might be here to discuss it, but they are not. So I have put as much information as possible. So you guys can make a decision either way. Now that it's going to be September, you don't want to run out of time for them to actually finish the project, hopefully this year. The days will start getting numbered fairly soon, but Up to you guys what you want to discuss and do from there.
I think we ought to go with the storage tank option. That starts it.
What's that?
I said, I think we ought to go with this storage tank option and that starts it.
So I'll refresh my memory, Ms. Sean. If I recall, initially was around 12 to 14,000 for the proposed storage tank with the sump pump. Is this 9,000 in place of that, or is this above and beyond that?
I don't know, Dan, do you have information on that, Andy, by chance? You wanna talk about it? He's looking up stuff as well. You look it up.
I'm pulling it up right now as I. See if my phone works. So there's a request for change. RFC number 5. That was Boomerang's proposal for doing that holding tank on the outside of the fire station.
What number do you have? Do you have an amount or you just? I mean, I know I have this one.
It was $9,262.55.
Same one.
Yeah. I don't know that we ever got an official
Okay,
quote
it
on
was just.
that. He was
talked
just throwing out a
Okay.
number, I
Yeah.
thought. Because I wasn't the other route gonna be with the lift station, gonna be like 26,000
about, say,
something or
around
other.
25,000.
Yeah,
Well, that's good because this was in addition to what I thought was a 12 to 14.
right,
Put us right in the same
Yeah.
ballpark.
right.
Yeah, no, it's 9,600. So option 1's at 25,000. And that's with the lift station and the inside of the station.
Right.
Option 2 is at $9,262.55.
Okay.
And that's with having that holding tank on the outside. And I think Shive had released email clearly states pros and cons.
Yeah.
On both ways.
So all things equal, whatever way we go, our engineering costs gonna be the same or is it proportionate to the cost?
Engineering costs will not change.
It's the same no matter
It's
which
gonna be the
option we
same. We're
go.
not gonna save a dime that way, especially since they're not for it. It's an alternate route. They're not saying it's not gonna work. It's just not part of their design. So they're not gonna make an amendment.
Okay.
Based on
I
that.
mean,
And they won't stand behind it.
Correct. If we install the second option for the whole, with the holding tank, it won't stand behind that. Correct. Everything else is still covered. but
Yeah.
not that
well,
option.
I guess my thoughts, I'm all for saving money when we can, but when the only pro of the second option is that it's $15,000 less, that there's nothing else listed. On that large of a project, $15,000, it's gonna have this thing for the rest of most of our lives. I don't know if that's a place to.
It wouldn't
Skim.
bother me so much, except this winter, they barely did anything the whole winter and we got hit up for about $18,000. If I wasn't correct. Is that right, Mayor? Wasn't it about 18,000? It was right in that figure.
It was, but I mean, as far as this,
We could have spent that money wisely on this then. But now I
I agree, but where we're at now, that's not here nor there. These are two options and engineering costs aside.
Has anybody else given their opinion on the pros and cons other than the engineer? Of record.
Not to me. I will say in my experience though, not trying to advocate one way or the other, that if the fire department someday expands, and that's an option potentially how the whole barn is, whole building is, if we had the engineer's option, more expensive option in, and they do expand, all we have to do is connect into the system and it's already set up and we wouldn't have an extra expense at that point. If they did expand someday, however long that is, if we have the cheaper option, option number 2, we'd still have to put in basically option number 1 to accommodate more than what's there. Plus the staff time of pumping it or if there's an issue or whatever. So I mean, it's not unbearable, but we would have to, have staff stop and do that. But so there's a cost to that time maintenance, but either way, it's up to you guys what you want to do. So we can.
Well, if they ever expand, I'm not sure there's room left up there for you to expand.
Right. I think she's more describing on the build out, if something changed with the build out on the inside, future build out, then you'd be limited on what you could do.
You still are pretty limited on future build out on that
You would end
building.
up pushing out into the parking lot, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. Well, this is the interior finish of the addition that's going in right now.
Right, but even if you come out into the parking lot, you're gonna cover up one of the bays on the old fire station. And at that point, you could probably run in and connect onto that old line.
There's always
You
another
won't be
option
able to.
too, but the chances of it happening are probably fairly slim, but you could buy out someone's property next to us, but that'd be an expensive way to
Well,
go.
but you're gonna have a lot of fill to get it up to,
Yeah,
I mean, at that stage, we're probably gonna look at having to move it to a different location.
mhm.
I mean, the current fire station is what, about 40 years old? I mean, we're probably talking that long or longer that we're gonna be using this facility, I
Yeah.
hope so.
This should last a long time. It's really a good improvement on that fire station.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, Al. I think this newer method will work. And I
I
know,
know
I
it
know
will.
I talked to Steve and he said they would come up and pump it out. So,
It's,
With the
yeah,
new
it's really
jetter.
not that big of a deal. I know it will work. And the thing that I'm looking at, it's, 15,000 in the scheme of things. If you look at what this city is spending and what we're doing, it's not a lot, but it's some. And if we can save a little money here and there, I think, and not create a problem, and I don't think we're creating a problem, I think it's a route to go. And like I said, we already spent that money that we could have spent on it, on those guys this winter when they weren't doing anything. And I'm still upset about that.
well, the thing that I guess I'm a little bothered about is they didn't do their due diligence on the front end to know what that line was and
Yes, yeah.
design appropriately instead of waiting until almost completion and then figuring out, oh, we're gonna have to have a lift
Yeah,
station.
I had that conversation here at that meeting and he never did answer the question. He was just running in circles. I don't like that.
Have we gotten a professional opinion from like Boomerang or the plumbers doing the work or anything?
So the option 2, Boomerang, the plumber, I was there, I think Steve was there, White was there, and we discussed that out. Should have been a couple months ago since we did it, but we were all there probably for an hour and a half. Discussing if we went the holding tank option, where would the holding tank be, how we would route the lines, how we would reconfigure the bathrooms, the future bathrooms in addition. Those have to get moved to the northeast wall. So they naturally drain out the sewer. So, I mean, a lot of, since this has become an issue, there's been a lot of work in the background, making sure every option's been looked at and checked. And we had rotor rooter up there and got elevations, and we shot elevations, making sure everything will flow. And I think the homework's been done, and there's basically, here's the 2 options that we have here. So I know the option 2 is $15,000 less. There's a savings up front. Same time, you are using a piece of equipment every month to drain that out. Luckily, it'd be the city's jetter, but if the city didn't have a jetter, it's still going to cost $200 per time for them to come out. And if you hired someone else to come in and pump it out, you're probably cost you at least $200-300 a time. So that's $2,400 a month. Well, over the course of 7 months or 7 years, you're going to pay for it, the lift station. So yeah, there is a cost savings up front, but in the longevity of time, is the savings there or not?
What could happen? I mean, if future staff, if it was overlooked and not done, I mean, you'd be looking at issues if it filled up and it didn't get pumped out regularly.
Yeah, if there was a spill or anything that way, we'd have to call DNR. Get involved. safety issue potentially.
There's a lot of pros and cons, and I think if you're using the thought that upfront you're saving the $15,000, I don't think that's the best answer because it's still costing the city for the next X amount of many years it's being used. It's still costing the city something. It's still an expense. So
Well, did we ever get or figure out the possession of that sewer line?
we have not gotten that far with it.
No, so we originally are tapped from the private residential one.
Yes.
Yes, so I've been over there several times and we've had discussions with the engineer. We're already tapped into the line. We are discussing putting at the property line a backflow. So at least it'll segregate because we don't know at what point the homeowner or who put in the line to come onto city property, and it's actually quite far on city property. It's not like just right at the line, it's several feet onto the property. So technically, we're already on somebody's private line. So we should put in a backflow at their property line because our ordinance reads that they're responsible until basically the tap on at the street.
Mhm.
Since we're on there, they kind of lose that integrity. So if we put a backflow potentially right at their property line, then they would only be responsible till the property line
Right.
where the backflow is. And then there's a clear indication of nothing's going to back up into their house. And if they have an issue, if it's before the backflow, it's clearly theirs. So that will be coming eventually with a quote for that, if they want to do something like that, just to make sure there's a definitive segregation between private and the city.
So there's actually more cost to come than just the $25,000 or $26,000.
Yes. I mean, a backflow is not a ton of money, but
Right.
it's still correct.
But I also know we talked about putting in a manhole there and so forth. So what are we talking as potential additional costs on top?
I do not know. We just had that meeting in the last week.
Last week.
Yeah, in the last week. I do not have that information yet. Hoping next week, but I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
potentially 5,000.
I don't know if a backflow would be that much.
Well, it's not
Um,
just backflow. You're talking about the manhole and
Right,
all of
that's what I'm
that.
saying.
So
Well, we would have, well, we have to put a manhole back there.
Yeah.
We still put a manhole.
So I'm not sure at all, generally, what that price is yet. They haven't given me that. But that discussion was there last week, so they know to provide
We
it.
put in a manhole last year. How much was that? I don't remember.
do not.
Isn't the manhole cost is going to be expensed regardless of which one of these two options we go, because that sewer line is still there.
Correct.
And no matter what option, you're still utilizing it.
It's not a valid cost to consider.
Yeah.
I
it's a
don't know
whole
if that-
separate.
Obviously it's an overall expense that's going to be tagged to the project, but it's also an expense to rectify an error that occurred years before our service on this committee or this council. And the $15,000 difference in the two options. With option one, even with Sean, we have the blessing of the architect and engineers that have looked at this. With option two, I guess we have the blessing of the contractor and the plumber.
More or less.
They favor this idea, or they will
They,
do the work for this idea.
they know it should work, but they won't sit there. They won't sit there and say they'll stand behind it 100% guarantee it. So in theory, it should work.
That's what I thought I was hearing, but I wanted to clarify.
Well, and the DNR has approved this option that Boomerang has in front of us.
DNR,
I think only the original drawing is all they've reviewed. They don't.
we talked, I think Coy confessed, we talked with DNR about that holding tank and what our capabilities was with it, if we could let it drain out after it filled out, if it could drain out to daylight. But DNR said it had to be a holding tank. that had to be pumped out.
But they have not said, we will sign off on it, or they did,
We're good with that.
they did, they're okay with it, so. I mean, if they're okay with it, that speaks volumes too.
But that doesn't say that they ran the calculation, said, hey, this is designed correctly. They're behind the fact, yeah, you're good enough to put the holding tank back there. You can
And
be
that-
it,
And that it's not gonna leak is basically,
right,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
theory of it makes,
yeah.
They'd probably say it's not desirable, but you could get by with it.
They're good with the holding tank. And 4 drains draining in the holding tank, you get pumped out. That's where their area is. They're good with that. But whether or not it's designed correctly going to the holding tank, or if that holding tank was the right size, that's not their part of the discussion with it.
And if kind of the cheaper option is DNR EPA issues, I mean, it wouldn't take long to mess something up there and get a fine, and your savings would be gone pretty quick there too. I guess my take is be proud of this thing. It's a nice building. I just don't think we should skimp on over the course of the project. $15,000 is to do it right. I'd like to see us do it the preferred way.
But it's 25,000 to do it, option 1, right?
The $15,000 saving,
15,000 is more than.
Yeah,
option 2.
$15,000 more. That's what we're really discussing, because everything else is, yes.
We're gonna have an
15,000 more.
expense no matter what. It's just, is it gonna be 9,262 or 24,000 or 25,000?
So what we're really talking about is $15,000.
Is the sewer line at the street lower? Low enough that we could, I'm just throwing this out. Run a line down there and correct the problem that Mayor was talking about. We would get off the neighbor's line. We'd have our own separate line going to the sewer. How much would something like that cost? Then we wouldn't have to have a holding tank to drain if it's lower than the.
No.
The elevations don't work out.
Yeah.
They don't work out.
So with the second option, option B. The original print shows the bathrooms and future kitchen right in the middle of the station, and a holding tank off to the west side of it. To make option B work, we have to relocate our bathrooms and kitchens to the northeast corner for that to naturally drain into the sewer. The holding tank is what the issue is, and we have to get that to pump out.
The holding tank couldn't drain into the sewer.
It can,
Ran directly to the street.
it will not, no.
Are you talking like taking it right down the middle of the parking lot? Is that what you're talking about? Because if I remember right, doesn't the sewer line stop just at kind of the northeast corner of the,
So it's almost level with the building.
It's the existing sewer line that's there that we're tying into. It is about at minimum fall.
So you got a 10% fall approximately. So you're almost level with the
It's,
top of the building.
it's at minimum fall, but that's why we had to have rotor roof come
4% or
out.
Whatever it is, yeah.
So have you relocated whatever you would have to relocate? Have you relocated the bathrooms yet?
No,
Or so that'd be an additional cost that we weren't planning on.
that's not, that part doesn't matter because they're gonna have to rough it in one spot or the other.
Okay,
And the plumber's already said it really is not,
okay.
it's not gonna change their spot on the bathrooms.
Okay.
For cost wise, cost the same.
but that'll have to be redrawn.
That will have to be redrawn.
Which is a cost.
Which will be an architectural cost.
Of course they will.
So in
course they
reality,
well,
Yeah.
it's not what we're gonna do.
they already have it drawn there,
$15,000.
though, too.
What's that?
They already have the bathrooms drawing on a schematic drawing at option A, option 1.
But if
Right.
we-
They also have option 2 drawn out now as well, correct?
I know I grew up a sketch on my desk. Whether, I don't know if Shop Hadley has an official rendering of that or not
For option 2.
for option 2.
Correct. I don't think I've seen anything for
So
option
that-
2
so
yet, because,
That expense would be coming then as well.
yeah, because if you guys chose option 2, then they have to redesign. They're not gonna
So we're,
redesign and charge us if we're not gonna go potentially with option 2. That's why it's kind of important that we make, you guys decide if you want 1 or 2, because then that we'll be able to direct them which way to go at this point to
Now we're less than $15,000.
Yeah, that'll probably cost 2,000 plus, and then any of the change orders that go along with it. And then we're still pumping it out and still paying our employees to pump it out and using our equipment, to pump it out. I gotta go with the option one.
Well, it almost looks to me like they backed us into a corner to almost have to go their route, which does not.
Got a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they backed us into a corner. We have no choice. I'm not happy with them. And I really, at this stage, really would care less if they ever worked for the city of Anamosa again.
I agree.
Well, let's just be careful of what we convey in a public setting.
It's a
There's
feeling.
been missteps along the way.
We're not saying
I'm
they're a
not-
bad company or
I
anything.
don't
It's a
think you're
feeling.
pointing any blame. I just don't want us to venture into an area that would be uncomfortable. So
I think I understand where you guys are coming from. It's sort of sucked that we had to spend the extra money for the engineering fees. But this lift station would be a part of the project, no matter if we spent the extra money with the engineering fees or not. It's still a part of the project that would have been addressed at some point regardless. So
I will make a motion unless anybody else has anything to go with option one with the sewer ejector system.
I'll second it.
motion by Jeff, second by Brooke to proceed with option one. Further council discussion? Public comment? Penny?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Protesting, yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Gumbert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. Be nice to see this progress kick into gear again and get to completion. 7.9, review and approval, underwriters engagement agreement.
So this is for the bond that we have coming. We are just, it's quite long and lengthy, it's multiple pages. But we have to have it reviewed and approved by council for the agreement for the bond. And then once it's approved, I have to send a certification to them that council is aware of it. Many pages that are involved with it for me to sign it and return it to them.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Motion by Kay, second by Teresa. Further council discussion?
I would just, if I'm on the right document here, under the purpose. So it, says pay the cost of constructing streets, waters. Am I on the right document? My,
Yeah, it should be, I didn't number the pages.
yeah, it's in a few spots. My only thoughts were, should specifically be listing the project it's for, because in theory, in generality, that could be used for a number of, sewer in town or water in town.
This
Or
particular agreement is just for the underwriters. The GO bond itself is what attaches to it, like an addendum sort of thing that lists the projects that we're getting the bond for. So
Okay.
this is just for underwriters understanding this is the total amount we're getting and we agree to pay it back. And these are the legal parts of it. So it's like the back end part of it, but
Okay.
we're still required to have a certification that council is aware of it, knows it, and votes on it.
I guess just so it's, clear that it's for a specific project and doesn't, funds don't go for other type of projects.
Yeah, I have to report on that. They won't go to other projects. Lots of reporting.
Any further council discussion? Public comment? Penny?
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 7.10, update HR Green project status.
Evening, everyone. Andrew Marsh with HR Green. In your council packets this evening should be an update on our various projects that we're helping the city with. I'm happy to answer any questions or respond to anything in the list there of interest.
The Sycamore Street project is being held up because of cable, not because of the city employee bunch.
Absolutely correct, 100%. Visited the site this afternoon on the way over, and one of the homeowners came out and was frustrated with the lack of progress. The contractor made good progress early on in the project and is still on track overall schedule, but they have been delayed in finishing the last few bits of the project, last bits of sidewalk and concrete and finished grading and seating because of a delay in a repair to a fiber optic cable. And we have encouraged Eastern Iowa to put the pressure on the fiber optic company to complete the relocation. It was done incorrectly the first time. It was deepened the second time. So that's what we're waiting on right now for that project to be completed.
Thank you.
Do you know which carrier that they're waiting on, that the cut was on?
It's I forget the name of it. It's a third-party contractor that's paid to come out and do the repair.
That repair has been completed or
Been-
not?
It's been completed twice. The first time wasn't buried deep enough to get out of the way of the sidewalk that we show on the plans. The second time it is completed now and it's deep enough, but they want a little more slack in the line, so it's not a problem later on.
I haven't filled in the trench yet.
I didn't know if it was, I mean, I know it's a third party that does the work, but if it was on behalf of like the local co-op that's who owns the lines, if, could talk to them and might have some pull to get that going.
For sure. That's kind of the approach we're taking with having Eastern Iowa. Put the pressure on them to get it done. Because the city's contract is with Eastern Iowa, so.
Yeah.
So Andrew, how does HR Green navigate similarities to this with other projects? Because I guess I would sit here looking at it, we have a contract, the city has a contract with HR Green.
Yep.
To manage this overall project. Can understand Eastern Iowa putting some pressure on this sub to move forward. How about HR Green, to me, would have sharper teeth to put their teeth into this sub to
Sure.
move forward. Because I can fully understand the public, and we talked about this up front, that, they want to be able to access the street in front of their house, which is accessibility to a driveway or entrance into their home.
You're absolutely right. And the access issues, the street is still, for the most part, closed off for that block. One of the homeowners has access in front of their house, but the rest do not. So we are all waiting. Let me back up. The important thing to remember here is that the overall contract with Eastern Iowa is still on schedule. And that's the important thing here to remember. I think overall, they made a lot of good progress early on. And so it's been frustrating now that it's been idle for the last several weeks. But overall, they're doing just fine. And so it's not a lack of staffing or resources on Eastern Iowa. It's not a reflection on them at all. So they're doing great. Our inspector has been working closely with the fiber optic utility company and talking to them. And he's got a meeting with them tomorrow morning, to your point. to put the pressure on them from our inspectors' work progress. So they're aware of that issue, and we're trying to get the resources from the relocation company to get the fiber optic done. And we're also encouraging Eastern Iowa to make the same phone call just so we can
Dual channel,
hit it from both ways.
I like that approach. Thanks for
Yeah.
putting the squeeze there.
Sure. So they're still likely to finish on time through all of this. So I know it's been frustrating for a couple of the homeowners, but it's still on track.
Any other questions or comments for Andrew on the projects for HR Green? Well, Andrew, thanks for providing that update, being in attendance this evening to
bet.
answer.
Also, if I could add, we do have a meeting scheduled, Mishan, tomorrow afternoon to introduce ourselves and some of the folks working on the various projects here so we can work closely with the city staffs. Looking forward to that.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
7.11, update Snyder and Associates project status.
I'm here. Any questions?
I'll have your report in front of me. Are all your projects on time, moving forward?
So the same utility situation, I think, is the name of the game that Andrew's very familiar with. We have gas relocates on Old Dubuque Road, but they're actually relocating them, so that should be cleared up and out of the way.
Can you elaborate on the street lights?
The
with
street
Dakota
lighting
Valley?
thing, yeah, so quite typically on projects within city jurisdiction, the utility companies own and rent out lighting, street lighting. And that was no exception to this project. We planned on that all along until Dakota Valley Electric let us know that they didn't want to own these particular lights or do that. I don't know if it's typical and mostly they don't want to do this. So even though they had quoted the fixtures and the timing and the install and their work and all that, they came back and told us, can you find someone else to do it? So at this point, we're going to need to find a contractor, which it'll be fine. We'll find a contractor, but we either have to run it through the city as a quoted project, because it's probably under the bid threshold, to find a contractor, install the lights out there, or to run it through a change order with Boomerang. Either way, to have a third party besides the utility company do it, because they said no thanks. I think they're struggling getting stuff done too as well. And I don't think Dakota Valley does it as much as like an Alliant Energy does either, I'm learning. So whereas it's typical for us, it wasn't fairly
And this
obvious to
was
them.
Through Dakota Valley REC.
Was that, yeah, we were trying to coordinate with them because the actual project is right within their corner. It's interesting if you look at the utility maps. The project limits are within their corner of the world, and because it's just an interesting spot, and you cannot get the utility companies to cross lines without
I've heard that.
some authority from up high, which no one needs to bother with for that. So we're getting there. It was just a bit of a surprise here, so we just need to get it addressed. And I have talked to Alliant, and they are saying no. So I'm going to get you a couple costs to see what are the better options to go, and we'll go from there.
About how many street lights? We're
8?
talking 8.
I think 8. They're drawn out. We know exactly where they need to go,
Mhm.
which we gave Dakota Valley and said, buy these lights, put them here,
Yeah.
get the wire run, et cetera. So yeah, we have all the information. It's a matter of just finding another person lined up to get it done and get it done quickly.
The existence of streetlights in Anamosa dates back well before any of our time serving on this council. But my understanding is that Alliant has put those in, they own them, and we just pay them a usage bill.
That's,
Unfortunately, this now footprint crosses into Macocata Valley,
Someplace
REC area.
it varies sometimes. That's very typical, that practice where the utility company just owns it, because then when there's something that goes wrong, they're more equipped to fix it. That's typical.
But
And
the
quite
experts
honestly,
handle it.
they're probably making money on the cities by doing this versus you guys doing it yourselves. But they're equipped also to repair things
like on the newer ones we put in, if they have to change like a light bulb, they don't charge us, they just do it.
Well, you're probably paying for it under
Well,
I
service.
don't think
Yeah,
we
but-
submitted
Yeah,
an
yeah.
invoice per se.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting an invoice.
Exactly, like you don't get invoiced when your water main breaks.
Yeah.
because
But indirect
somebody's water
versus
main- yeah,
direct.
yeah.
Well, good
I'm
luck
not losing
walking
sleep
through-
over it,
working
but-
Through that.
Yeah, you'll hear about it more, so. I mean, the big deal is you have to have lights for the roundabouts open.
Mhm.
But as it is with the way things got off to a slow start with the signatures and then the gas, at this point, we have a little bit more time. I mean, it's not gonna be open by winter anyway, in theory, so we have some time to get some lights in.
Can you give us an estimate, shovel in the dirt?
When it'll be ready, when it'll be open,
Not open, just when's the shovel gonna hit the dirt?
the days will start being counted this week. So,
Plural days?
I mean, that was with this contract, they're on working days and the clock will start ticking.
Their clock is ticking.
Yeah, the clock would have started ticking, but this gas bought them some time. So
Okay.
now the gas is relocated. The clock will start ticking.
Have
So
you been in
that's,
close contact with the contractor?
yeah, the project manager's on vacation all last week. So now that she's back, I'm gonna get an update from her again.
So we would hope to see something in the next 30 days?
Oh, I would imagine so. They're gonna have to start getting pretty scared if they don't start. I
Okay.
mean, it's a dollars thing. It's a disincentive thing. It's not a liquidated damages. It's money per day when work doesn't get done on time.
I just know that people in the community are looking forward to this extension. So just seeing the work is promising.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard from Andrew earlier by not seeing any activity.
I know. It's a whole new world out there than it was a decade ago. There's just a lot less interest in just getting stuff done. It's all about chasing the money and buying the time and seeing what it's just, it's just the economy of the business contractors these days. I don't think anybody likes it. The same way they treat us in our homes, when it comes to fixing things too, it's not everybody takes care of everybody anymore. It's chasing the money.
Also, anything?
Well, I've got a question. Speaking of chasing the money. I see the next application deadline is October 1st for CDBG for
Yes. Yeah,
so we can get the application in on time and
it could have
What-
gone in 2 years ago.
so it's all ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, all you needed was facility plan approval as far as the DNR goes, cares. I know we tried to get ECI cog to help with it a couple of years ago. I don't know what the deal is. I know as far as city council action goes, it's just a resolution that says you're okay to apply. I mean, at this point, I don't know what paperwork you want to do or what has been done, or if anybody has done anything at any time. They're quarterly applications for CDBG, so it could have been on any of the applications like prior to now.
And so we may need to put it on the
Yeah.
agenda for next meeting then to discuss and approve. Okay.
Anything else? Lindsay, thanks for submitting your report and also for being present to answer questions. We appreciate Snyder's work today. 8.0 new business. 8.1 ordinance 22-954, adopting the code of ordinances of the city of Anamosa, Iowa, first reading.
So I know this was talked about last meeting and I had poor cell service, so maybe this was talked about, but so is this taking all the ordinances? It's an ordinance for the ordinances. We've never had this before. It's just adopting all the ordinances on the book, or
Correct. It makes them official, once they're filed with the state and everything. So you have to do that, depending on how many ordinances you run a year, at least yearly, we're supposed to be doing that. And if we have a lot of our ordinances going on, even a couple times a year. Right now, once we pass this, we won't have to do anything again until probably next fall or summer.
Okay.
just to kind of keep on track and not let it fall behind again.
So this has never ever been done.
Not for many, many years.
Mm-mm.
It had to have been done at the beginning stages. But I'm not sure how long it's been since it's been updated.
But it could have been, I mean, the oldest one here is what, 1991? It
Yeah,
could have
there's
been
a
that
couple of
long.
them that haven't been updated. Yeah,
But they've been codified.
Oh, it's a
Prior,
renewal,
yeah.
urban
or
renewal
since
area.
then, I
So
believe.
right,
I
right.
want to
These are
say 5 years running now.
maybe, yeah,
It's,
it's been a couple years.
it's been a little over 5
Yeah, I remember.
because we haven't codified them since I've been on.
It's been just before.
Yeah, because, well, when Jacob was hired, that was one of his first order of businesses that he was supposed to accomplish and never did.
You guys will see it yearly. Once this is done, look at it yearly.
It just refers to the ones that are listed. in the
Correct.
document that we have, because there's some others in the book. ordinance, I think.
Right. The ones that are listed are the only ones that have had a change or an update, or, and the more recent ones are ones that aren't included as, at all. And then we get 15 copies, hard copies of them, once we're done, to go into everybody's ordinance books, so we can replace the pages that have been updated and approved. And then it'll also end up on the state of Iowa's website. So if somebody has a question at a council meeting or anything, any of us can have access to that, you know, even during a council meeting, to look up what an ordinance potentially says. And residents can get to it easily, and we don't have to house it or upload it as well at that point on our personal city website.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Alan. Further council discussion? Any?
Stout,
yes,
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Gumbert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.2 resolution 22-47. Authoring the use of a preliminary off official statement of the sale of general obligation, corporate purpose and refunding bonds series 2022.
And this ties in with the additional paperwork for the bond that we're getting, that they require to go out if the sale complete it that way.
I'm gathering that from year 24 through 2024 through 2030, those are non-callable bonds, and then 2031 through 2035 are callable
I noticed that.
after 2030.
So I'm not
That's the way I read
100%
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Is there any way to make that, say, to 2027, anything after that callable? Or 2026?
I do not have an answer to that. I don't know, since I've only been here a couple weeks, I don't know what stage of progression we're at. I don't know if we can change something at this point, because I know we're getting the funds, I think, next month.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking that is like right now, we're in a rising interest rate environment. In a couple of years, when maybe we're going to phase 2 or 3, and if we have to borrow again, interest rates might be lower, that we could refinance these potentially at a lower rate. So if we're locked in until at least 2030, I'd like to see if we can inch that down some and possibly get them refinanced if rates come down.
Good point.
What year do you want to ask
Well,
about?
Ideally, callable and
Well, yeah, I mean,
early on, but
depending on how long this phase one takes, and then at the potential point of phase two, ideally, we could almost say starting in 2025. But I don't know if they would go for that, or if we could go to push it off to 2026 or 2027, but
If they make the whole, any years callable, that'd be great. but
yeah, that would be better, yeah. Just make it all callable.
Put the feelers out and see what they say.
Does that require us tabling this?
We have to, correct, so I can get more information for you.
Well, with that, I would like to see a motion to table this, that under the guidelines that Rich has spoke of, if that's what council wants to do.
I'll make a motion to table until we can figure out if we can shorten the terms on being callable.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan to table tonight's agenda item 8.2. Further council discussion? Penny, could you conduct the roll vote?
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes,
Motion to table carried unanimous. 8.3, resolution 22-48, directing the clerk to publish notice of a hearing on the downtown revitalization funds for the Iowa Economic Development Authority.
This would go, I'd send it this week. It would show up in next week's paper, and then the next council meeting, we have the hearing for the funds for downtown.
Then those two are
September
approved.
12th.
Yes,
again, this is, just to clarify, this is for the next round, right? This is nothing more to do with the completed round. Is this the next round?
this is starting the next round, correct,
Okay.
starting the whole process again.
did you make the motion
Yeah, I
out?
move to approve.
I'll second.
I never heard you.
I'll yell a little louder next time.
Hey, you're gonna have motion by Alan, second by Rich. Further council discussion? Public comment? Kenny?
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes,
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried unanimous. 8.4, discussion and possible action. Anamosa High School homecoming parade, noise and street closure.
second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Further discussion? Public comment? Kenny?
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
yes,
Gumbert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.5, discussion and possible action. Pumpkin Fest, Pumpkin Roll, Bags Tournament, Street closures. There's 3 requests.
second,
That's with the amendment sheet that I handed out.
Yeah.
So, yep, so they have the map now, of what it is and the time sheet. So we're-
Motion by Kay, second by Jeff. For the Pumpkin Fest, all 3 requests. Further council discussion? Public comment? Penny?
yes,
Gumbert,
Yes.
Stout,
yes,
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.6, review and approval of liquor license renewal for Anamosa Lodge and Suites.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion?
Would you guys prefer in the future for the liquor licenses and the cigarette sales to have a consent agenda item, or do you want me to leave them individual? We can always pull something out of a consent agenda if we want to talk about it a little more, but if you guys didn't want to have to individually talk about each one, well, I can do a consent, it's kind of a package deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd be okay with
I
that.
would be too.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't want to assume that this first round. So usually those kind of things are on a consent agenda, and if you want to pull a specific one out, or if it's new and they haven't applied for something before, we kind of talk about it. Okay, thanks.
So we still have a motion by Rich, second by Teresa on approval of this liquor license. Anything additional from council? Any?
Albert,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.7, review and approval of liquor license renewal for Boondocks.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Further discussion? Penny?
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Smith.
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.8, review and approval of liquor license renewal for Thou Art Gallery LLC.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Further discussion? Any?
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.9, review and approval of liquor license renewal for Dollar General.
move
Move
to
to approve.
approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Also discussion. Penny?
Tukin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Albert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.10, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alan, second by Kay. Further discussion,
Wait,
council on the bills that were submitted.
I think, will we be able to get like the breakdown with a little memo description for each one?
yeah, like we had been getting before.
It just says like a little, like abbreviated description of what it was for or what category.
It was that way in the last. package.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just did this is what, these approval of bills is what goes to the newspaper, so I just, once they're approved, I just grab them and submit them instead of running a separate report, but that's fine, we can do the other report as well.
Is the Alliance total a little more than usual? Or is it simply the way it's presented that makes it seem okay?
I don't recall it being any more than usual.
Just the way it's presented?
Mhm, yes.
Yeah, and probably instead of having it broken down by departments, it's,
Correct,
Mhm,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just one total.
you get a lump sum now.
Any other questions or comments? Penny?
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes,
Albert,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Motion to approve bills carried unanimous. 9.0, city administrators report.
As of right now, we've rerun the open position at City Hall for the position. Last time we had not a good response. Right now I have 10 people that have already replied. I've interviewed 3 already today, and we have a couple more, I think, coming this week that we'll review. And hopefully this next council meeting will have whomever that is selected up for you guys, which would be good to get to full staff. We can hope to smooth out a little bit more.
Thanks, Michelle. Is there any questions, comments for Michelle? 10.0 Mayor and Council reports. 10.1 Mayor's report. None. 10.2 Council reports. Hearing none. 11.0 Public comment for items not on the agenda. Doesn't appear to be any. 12.0 adjournment. This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.